Captain Eliza Murphy stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Horizon, her eyes fixed on the large viewport that showed the vast emptiness of space around them. Stars twinkled in the distance, cold and indifferent. The ship had been traveling, for 3 months now, venturing deeper into the Tau Ceti system than any human vessel before them. "Captain, all systems are operating at optimal levels," reported Alan West, the chief engineer. His voice carried the pride of someone who had helped design many of the experimental systems aboard the Horizon. "The new FTL drive is stabilizing better than expected." Eliza nodded. "Good work, Alan. Keep monitoring the core temperature. I want no surprises when we're this far from home." The year was 2189, and humanity had spread throughout the solar system, establishing colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan. But the stars beyond remained largely unexplored until the development of the new faster-than-light drive. The Horizon was the testbed for this technology, a sleek vessel carrying a crew of 53 men and women chosen for their expertise and adaptability. "Captain," called Zachary Bell from his communications station. His brow furrowed as he adjusted his equipment. "I'm picking up unusual energy readings coming from the vicinity of the fifth planet." Science Officer Nathan Kelly was already moving to his side, his lean frame bending over the console as he studied the readings. "These patterns aren't natural," he said after a moment, excitement creeping into his voice. "They're too regular, too precise. I believe they're artificial in origin." A hush fell over the bridge. Everyone understood what that meant. If Kelly was right, they had just detected the first confirmed evidence of alien technology. "How far?" Eliza asked, her voice steady despite the pounding of her heart. "Approximately 20 million kilometers," Kelly replied. "It's coming from something in orbit around the fifth planet." Eliza considered her options. Their mission was to explore, to discover. If there was alien technology, or aliens themselves, in the system, they needed to investigate. "Plot a course," she ordered, "but approach with caution, passive scans only." "Yes, Captain," acknowledged the navigation officer. As the Horizon changed course, Eliza called a meeting of her senior staff. Kelly presented the data they had gathered so far. "The energy signatures suggest advanced technology," he explained. "It could be automated equipment, or it could be an active civilization. Either way, it's the discovery of the century. Or it could be dangerous," said Security Chief Paul Martinez. His expression was serious. "We know nothing about whoever or whatever built this." "That's why we're going to be careful," Eliza assured them. "We'll maintain a safe distance and try to learn what we can before making contact." The journey to the fifth planet took 16 hours. As they drew closer, the crew grew more excited. Many had joined the mission hoping for exactly this kind of discovery. "I have visual," announced Grace Phillips from the tactical station. The main screen activated, showing a magnified image of the planet ahead. It was a gas giant swirling with storms of blue and green. But it wasn't the planet that drew their attention. It was what orbited it. Structures floated in space, glinting in the light of Tau Ceti. They were unlike anything human engineers had ever built. Crystal-like formations that seemed to grow outward from central hubs. "They're enormous," Kelly whispered. "Each one must be at least 5 kilometers across." "Are they ships or stations?" Eliza asked. "Unknown, Captain," Phillips replied, "but they're definitely artificial." Bell suddenly straightened in his seat. "Captain, I'm detecting active scanning beams directed toward us." Eliza felt a chill run down her spine. "They've spotted us. Time to introduce ourselves. Mr. Bell, broadcast standard first contact greetings on all frequencies." "Broadcasting now, Captain." Minutes passed with no response. The scanning beams continued to wash over the horizon, probing, analyzing. "Captain," Phillips said urgently, "the energy readings from those structures are changing. Power levels are increasing dramatically." Before Eliza could respond, the ship shuddered violently. "We're caught in some kind of beam," West shouted from engineering. "It's holding us in place." "Engines to full," Eliza ordered. "Break us free." The Horizon strained against the invisible force, but couldn't move. On the view screen, the alien, Structures were changing. What had appeared to be crystal formations were shifting, parts rotating and extending to reveal what looked disturbingly like weapon ports. "They're targeting us," Phillips reported, her voice tight. "Multiple weapons locks detected." "Evasive maneuvers," Eliza called, knowing even as she said it that it was impossible while they were held in place. "Captain," Kelly said, his voice filled with wonder despite the danger. "The structures. They're camouflaging themselves, they're ships." He was right. What they had thought were stationary structures were now clearly vessels, their true forms becoming apparent as they abandoned their disguise. They were massive compared to the horizon, shaped like arrowheads with branching crystalline growths extending from their hulls. "Continue broadcasting peaceful intentions," Eliza instructed Bell. "Make it clear we mean no harm." "No response, Captain," Bell replied. "Wait. I'm picking up transmissions between their vessels, but I can't decode them yet." "Keep trying," Eliza said. She turned to Phillips. "Shields up. Prepare defensive measures, but do not, I repeat, do not, power up weapons unless I give the order." "Understood, Captain." The alien ships were moving now, surrounding the horizon in a formation that left no avenue of escape. "Captain," West called over the comm, "whatever is holding us is putting enormous strain on our hull. We can't break free without risking structural damage." Eliza gripped the arms of her command chair. "Hold position. Let's not give them any reason to think we're hostile." But it seemed the aliens had already made up their minds. The space around the horizon began to glow with an eerie light as energy built up in the alien vessel's weapon systems. "They're charging weapons," Phillips confirmed, her voice remarkably calm given the circumstances. "All hands brace for impact," Eliza announced shipwide. She looked around at her bridge crew, seeing fear but also determination in their eyes. Whatever happened next would go down in human history, if any of them survived to report it. The skies around the horizon lit up as the alien weapons fired, converging on the helpless human ship. In that terrible moment, as the deadly energy closed in from all sides, Captain Eliza Murphy realized that humanity's first contact with alien life might also be its last. The alien weapons fire streaked through space toward the horizon. Captain Eliza Murphy closed her eyes for a split second, preparing for the impact. But instead of the explosion she expected, a strange humming filled the ship. "What's happening?" she asked, opening her eyes to see the bridge bathed in an odd blue light. Alan West's voice came through the comm system, filled with surprise. "Captain, the experimental defense system is activating automatically." "What defense system?" Eliza demanded. "I wasn't briefed on any special defenses." "It was classified, Captain," West explained quickly. "Only a few of us knew. It's called reflexive shield technology. It can absorb energy attacks and store the power for later use." Outside the viewport, the deadly beams from the alien ships were being caught by a blue field surrounding the horizon. Instead of destroying the ship, the energy was being absorbed, making the shield glow brighter with each passing second. "How long will it hold?" Eliza asked. "Unknown," West admitted. "This is its first real test, but the readings are promising. The shields are at 60% capacity and climbing." On the bridge, everyone watched in amazement as their ship survived what should have been certain destruction. The alien vessels seemed to pause, as if confused by their target's survival. "They're adjusting their weapons," Grace Phillips reported from Tactical. "Increasing power output." "Can our shields handle more?" Eliza asked. West hesitated before answering. "Yes, but there's a limit to how much energy they can absorb. And we need to release it eventually, or the system will overload." Zachary Bell suddenly spoke up from communications. "Captain, I've broken through part of their language encryption. They're transmitting messages about us." "What are they saying?" Eliza leaned forward in her chair. Bell's face was pale as he listened to the translated fragments. "They're calling us a quarantine breach. They keep repeating that phrase. They seem shocked that we're here." Science Officer Nathan Kelly moved to Bell's station, studying the partial translations. "The Voidari," he said slowly. "What?" Eliza looked at him. "That's what they call themselves. The Voidari. And from what I can piece together from these transmissions, they believe they are the only species worthy of space travel. They see all other intelligent life as contamination. So, they attack anyone they find in space? Eliza asked, horrified. Kelly nodded grimly. It appears so. The ship shuddered as another wave of alien fire struck the shields. The blue glow intensified. Shields at 85% capacity, West reported. Captain, we need to release this energy soon, or it will backfire on us. Eliza studied the tactical display. The alien ships had formed a precise attack pattern, firing in coordinated sequences. Their movements were methodical, almost ritualistic. They're not expecting us to fight back, she realized aloud. They think we're helpless. Eliza turned to West. Can we modify the shields to release the stored energy as a weapon? Theoretically, yes, West replied. We could create a focused energy burst, but we'd have to drop our shields momentarily to do it. And we'd be defenseless, Phillips added. Eliza watched the pattern of the alien attacks. They were becoming predictable, creating brief windows between volleys. Not if we time it perfectly, she said. Alan, come to the bridge. I need you to work with Grace to modify the shield emitters. While West hurried to the bridge, Eliza addressed the rest of her crew. We have one chance at this. If we can disable even one of their ships, it might create enough confusion for us to break free of whatever's holding us in place. West arrived minutes later, out of breath. He and Phillips immediately began work on reconfiguring the shield. Systems, Bell, keep working on those translations, Eliza ordered. I want to know everything you can learn about these Voidari. Yes, Captain. As the crew worked frantically, the alien ships continued their assault. The horizon's shields glowed ever brighter, now a blinding blue-white. Shield capacity at 92%, the computer announced. Warning, maximum capacity will be reached in 3 minutes. We'll be ready, West assured Eliza, his fingers flying over the tactical console. We're setting up a directional discharge aimed at the lead vessel. When we release the energy, it will create a concentrated shockwave. The aliens are sending new transmissions, Bell reported. They're confused. They don't understand why we haven't been destroyed yet. Good, Eliza said. Let's use that confusion to our advantage. The minutes ticked by as the crew made final preparations. The shields continued to absorb energy, now pulsing dangerously as they approached their limit. Shield capacity at 98%, the computer warned. We're ready, Captain, West announced, looking up from his work. But we'll only get one shot at this. Eliza nodded and addressed the ship. All hands, secure for possible impact. This is going to be rough. She watched the tactical display as the alien ships continued their firing pattern. She needed to time this perfectly. Shield capacity at 99%. Wait for my mark, Eliza said, eyes fixed on the display. The alien vessels were moving into position for their next coordinated attack. We need them to fire simultaneously again. Seconds stretched like hours as they waited. Then, the alien ships moved into their attack formation. Now, Eliza commanded. West hit the release command. For a split second, the shields around the horizon dropped. In that same moment, the stored energy discharged in a massive pulse directed at the lead alien vessel. The shockwave hit the alien ship before it could fire, enveloping it in blinding blue-white energy. The crystalline structures on its hull vibrated violently and then shattered. The ship didn't explode. Instead, it seemed to fold in on itself, its systems failing catastrophically. The other alien vessels froze, their attack halting in apparent confusion. It worked, Phillips exclaimed. The holding beam is weakening, West reported. Their ships are breaking formation. Full power to engines, Eliza ordered. Get us out of here. The horizon lurched forward as the engines fired, breaking free of the weakened alien grip. The remaining Voidari ships seemed disorganized, their coordinated attack pattern disrupted by the unexpected counterattack. They're regrouping, Phillips warned, but they're not pursuing yet. They seem to be assessing what happened. Put as much distance between us and them as possible, Eliza said. And someone tell me what the hell just happened to that alien ship. Kelly was studying the sensor data. The energy discharge matched the frequency of their hull materials. It created a resonance effect that destabilized their systems. We couldn't have planned it better if we'd tried. So we got lucky, Eliza said. Sometimes luck is enough, Kelly replied. But they won't fall for the same trick twice. As the Horizon raced away from the alien fleet, Eliza felt a mix of relief and dread. They had survived their first encounter with the Voidari, but they had also made a powerful enemy, and they were still deep in unknown space, far from any help. "Captain," Bell called from communications, "I've decoded more of their transmissions. They're sending a message to other ships, I think. I think they're calling for reinforcements." The Horizon sped away from the disabled Voidari ship and its confused companions. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as damage reports came in from all sections of the vessel. "Status report," Captain Eliza Murphy demanded, steadying herself against her chair as the ship shuddered. "Hull integrity at 82%, Grace Phillips reported from Tactical. "Minor breaches on decks 3 and 4, but emergency seals are holding. Communications array is severely damaged," Zachary Bell added. "Long-range transmissions to Earth are impossible until we make repairs." Alan West's voice came over the comm system. "Captain, the shields are offline. The energy discharge overloaded. Several key systems, we need time to repair them." Eliza frowned. Their situation was worse than she had hoped. "How long until the Voidari regroup?" "At their current rate of organization, I estimate 20 minutes, Phillips replied, studying her tactical display. "The confusion of losing their lead ship bought us some time, but they're already starting to pursue." "And their reinforcements?" Eliza asked. Bell shook his head. "Based on the transmission patterns, they're still hours away, but they're coming." Nathan Kelly approached Eliza with a data pad. "Captain, I've been analyzing the Voidari ship we disabled. There's something important you should see." He showed her the scan results. "Their vessels have a centralized power core here." He pointed to a glowing spot on the image. "When our energy pulse hit them, it created a feedback loop in this area. That's why they folded in on themselves rather than exploding." "A weakness," Eliza said. "Exactly. If we could target that area specifically, we might be able to disable more of their ships." Security Chief Paul Martinez joined them. "That assumes we want to fight. With our current damage, we should focus on escaping the system." Eliza considered this. "Agreed. But we need to be prepared if fighting becomes necessary." She turned to the navigation station. "What's our best escape route?" The navigation officer, Lisa Reed, displayed a map of the nearby area. "There's a small moon orbiting the fourth planet. It has a dense metallic composition that might shield us from their sensors while we make repairs." "Set a course," Eliza ordered. "Maximum speed." As the Horizon changed direction, Olivia Carter, the ship's AI specialist, stepped onto the bridge. "Captain, I've been analyzing the data we collected during our encounter. I think I might be able to access their network." "Their network?" Eliza asked. Carter nodded eagerly. "The Voidari ships communicate using quantum entanglement, but they still use standard transmission protocols for their actual data. There are similarities to our own systems. With enough time, I could potentially infiltrate their communications." "Do it," Eliza said. "Any information you can gather might help us survive." The next 15 minutes passed in tense silence as the Horizon raced toward the moon. The Voidari ships had overcome their initial confusion and were now in full pursuit. "They're gaining on us," Phillips warned. "Estimated time to weapons range, 5 minutes. West's voice came over the comm again. "Captain, I have an idea. It's risky, but it might work." "I'm listening," Eliza replied. "We could use the FTL drive for a short-range skip," West explained. "Jump us directly to the moon's orbit." "That's never been tested at such close range," Martinez objected. "True," West admitted. "But the math works. It would strain the drive significantly, but it should get us there before the Voidari can catch us." Eliza didn't hesitate. "Do it. We need every advantage we can get." West began the preparations while the pursuing Voidari ships continued to close the gap. "They're charging weapons," Phillips reported. "All hands, Secure for FTL jump, Eliza announced, ship-wide. This will be rougher than usual. The crew braced themselves as the familiar hum of the FTL drive began to build. Unlike a normal jump which required careful calculation and preparation, this emergency skip was being hastily assembled. FTL ready in 30 seconds, West reported. But Captain, the drive will need at least an hour to cool down afterward. Understood, Eliza said. We'll deal with that problem when we're safe. The Voidari ships were almost within weapons range when West gave the final countdown. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Reality seemed to bend around the horizon as the FTL drive engaged. For a brief, disorienting moment, the ship existed in two places at once. Then suddenly they were orbiting the moon, the Voidari fleet left behind, near the fifth planet. The ship groaned as systems strained to compensate for the unusual jump. Sparks flew from several consoles on the bridge. We made it, West said, his voice filled with relief. But the FTL drive is completely offline. It's going to need major repairs before we can use it again. Good work, Alan, Eliza said. Take us into orbit around the far side of the moon. That should keep us hidden from the Voidari sensors for a while. As the horizon settled into orbit, repair teams were dispatched throughout the ship. Eliza called her senior staff to the conference room for a situation assessment. How long before we can contact Earth? She asked Bell. At least 12 hours to repair the communications array, he replied. And even then, we'll need to boost the signal somehow to reach across such a distance. The Voidari will find us eventually, Martinez pointed out. This moon won't hide us forever. Carter raised her hand. Captain, I've made progress with the Voidari network. I haven't broken in completely, but I've learned something disturbing. The Voidari haven't just been attacking us. They've been systematically eliminating other species across this sector of the galaxy. A stunned silence fell over the room. How many species? Kelly asked finally. At least 7 that I can confirm, Carter replied. Maybe more. They call it purification. Eliza's expression hardened. Then we need to warn Earth. The Voidari could pose a threat to our entire species. There's more, Carter added. The Voidari records mention something called the Coalition, a group of species that once fought against them. But the records suddenly stopped mentioning them about 1,000 years ago. What happened to them? Eliza asked. Carter shook her head. Unknown. But I found coordinates in the Voidari battle archives. Some of them match this moon's position. Kelly's eyes widened. Are you saying this moon might have been a Coalition outpost? It's possible, Carter confirmed. Eliza stood up. Then we need to investigate while we're here. If there's anything on this moon that could help us against the Voidari, we need to find it. She turned to Martinez. Assemble an exploration team. We need to search the surface for any signs of artificial structures or technology. Martinez nodded. Yes, Captain. As the meeting ended, Eliza remained behind, staring at the image of the moon on the display screen. What they discovered here could determine not just their own survival, but potentially the fate of all humanity. Outside, hidden from the horizon's sensors by the curve of the moon, something ancient stirred to life for the first time in a millennium, awakened by the presence of the human ship. The exploration team stood at the airlock preparing for their mission to the moon's surface. Security Chief Paul Martinez checked his equipment one last time while Science Officer Nathan Kelly calibrated his scanner. Remember, we don't know what's down there, Martinez told the 6-person team. Stay alert and maintain communication with the ship at all times. Captain Eliza Murphy approached the team. Your primary objective is to find anything that might help us against the Voidari. If this moon was once a Coalition outpost, there could be valuable technology or information hidden here. What if the Voidari find us while we're on the surface? Asked Diana Ross, the team's linguist. We'll monitor their movements, Eliza assured her. At the first sign they've detected us, we'll call you back immediately. The team boarded the shuttle and launched from the horizon. As they descended toward the moon's surface, Kelly studied the readings on his scanner. I'm detecting unusual energy signatures beneath the surface, he reported. Too regular to be natural. Can you pinpoint the source? Martinez asked. Kelly adjusted his scanner. About 2 kilometers from our landing site, there appears to be some kind of structure buried under the regolith. The shuttle touched down on the barren surface. The team exited wearing their exploration suits, the low gravity making their movements bouncy despite their equipment load. "This way," Kelly said, pointing toward a ridge of dark rocks. "The energy signature is coming from just beyond that formation." As they walked, Ross noticed markings on some of the rocks. "These aren't natural," she said, running her gloved hand over the strange symbols carved into the stone. "They look like writing of some kind." Kelly scanned the markings. The patterns matched nothing in our database, but they're definitely artificial. The team continued past the ridge and found themselves looking down into a wide crater. At its center was a dark circle that seemed too perfect to be natural. "That's it," Kelly said excitedly. "The energy signature is coming from directly beneath that circle." They carefully made their way down the crater's slope. As they approached the dark circle, they realized it was made of a material similar to obsidian but impossibly smooth. "It's a door," Martinez said, examining the edge where the black material met the moon's surface. "But I don't see any way to open it." Ross studied the symbols that ran around the circle's edge. These might be instructions or a locking mechanism. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. The team stepped back as the black circle began to descend, revealing a tunnel that led deep into the moon. "The horizon is hailing us," Martinez said, checking his communicator. "They want to know what's happening." "Tell them we've found an entrance to an underground structure," Kelly replied, "and that it just opened on its own." After reporting to the ship, Martinez led the team into the tunnel. Light strips embedded in the walls activated as they passed, illuminating a path that sloped gently downward. "This technology is still functioning after who knows how many years," Ross marveled. "The coalition must have been incredibly advanced." The tunnel eventually opened into a vast chamber. The team stopped, awestruck by what they saw. The chamber housed what appeared to be a control center with panels and displays arranged in a semicircle around a central platform. "It's some kind of command post," Kelly said, moving toward the nearest panel. Strange symbols glowed faintly on its surface. Ross joined him, her eyes wide with excitement. "These symbols are similar to the ones outside, but more complex. I might be able to decipher them with enough time." While Ross began work on translating the symbols, the rest of the team explored the chamber. They found more rooms connected to the main area, some containing what looked like sleeping quarters, others filled with equipment they couldn't identify. "Captain," Martinez called over the comm, "you need to see this. We've found what appears to be an intact alien outpost. It's incredible." "I'll send down more personnel," Eliza replied. "But be careful. We still don't know what triggered that door to open." Hours passed as more crew members joined the exploration team. Ross worked tirelessly with the ship's computer to decode the alien language. "I'm making progress," she told Kelly as they studied one of the larger displays. "These symbols here appear repeatedly in specific patterns. I think they might be names, species names." "The coalition members?" Kelly asked. Ross nodded. 7 distinct names, appearing together in what might be a registry or record of some kind. Meanwhile, in another section of the outpost, engineer Alan West examined what appeared to be a power core. "This technology is unlike anything I've ever seen," he reported to Captain Murphy, who had joined the expanded team. "It's still generating energy after all this time. The efficiency is, well, it's beyond our current understanding." "Can we adapt any of it to help repair the horizon?" Eliza asked. West considered this. "Possibly. Some of the components might be compatible with our systems, but we'd need to understand how they work first." Back in the main chamber, Ross suddenly called out in excitement, "I've got it. I've decoded enough to access their database." Everyone gathered around as the main display came to life, showing images and text in the alien language. Ross worked quickly, inputting the translation algorithm she had developed. "It's working," she said as human words began to replace the alien symbols. This is a historical record." The display showed images of ships similar to the Voidari vessels. but also other ships of completely different designs, presumably belonging to the Coalition species. They fought a war, Ross translated, reading the text that accompanied the images. The Coalition formed to resist the Voidari's attempts to purify space of all other intelligent life. What happened to them? Eliza asked. Ross continued translating. The Coalition was winning at first. They had superior numbers and combined technology. But then the Voidari developed a new weapon, something called a resonance disruptor, that could disable their ships instantly. Like what happened to us, Kelly realized. Being caught in that holding beam. Exactly, Ross nodded. But the Coalition found a weakness in the Voidari ships, their power cores. Alan West leaned forward. That's what we discovered when we hit them with our energy pulse. The record says they established outposts like this one throughout the sector, Ross continued. Places to hide, repair their ships, and share information about Voidari weaknesses. Does it say what happened to them? Eliza pressed. Why they disappeared? Ross's expression grew somber as she translated more text. The Voidari launched a final offensive. Most of the Coalition species were driven back to their home systems. This outpost was abandoned and placed in dormant mode. The last entry says they left behind their technical data, in case anyone else ever faced the Voidari. Technical data, West repeated, including their weapons and defenses? Yes, Ross confirmed. It's all here. Blueprints, specifications, tactical information about Voidari weaknesses. Captain Murphy's communicator suddenly buzzed. Captain, Grace Phillips's voice came through, tense and urgent. The Voidari fleet is on the move. They've located us. How long do we have? Eliza asked. Less than an hour before they reach the moon. Eliza looked around at her team, then at the alien database filled with information that could save them. Download. Everything, she ordered. We need to get this data back to the ship immediately. As the crew rushed to extract the Coalition knowledge, deep within the outpost systems, something was sending a signal, a beacon that had remained dormant for a millennium, now broadcasting across the stars once more.